Hi, everyone. This is Kumar Danatran with Agile Meridian, and we're live with our Agile Shorts. And today we're going to be talking about Agile product management. And actually, we're calling it that. It's really one of the competencies in Scrum. And the competency, what Scrum calls it, is managing products with agility. So, I mean, that's a bunch of words.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. So we thought we'd shorten it to something more simple and more practical. What is Agile product management? I'm sure people have heard of product management, right, Mike? And
Yes.
of course, we've been accused in the Agile community of just sticking Agile in front of everything, and that suddenly magically, we sprinkle the Agile pixie dust, and it's Agile, it's hip and cool. In reality, it's a really hard thing to do. And so we're going to kind of cover the competency from a Scrum perspective, and also share some of our experience in the challenges and in the mindset that's required to manage products with agility.
I think that's a key point, and you're right. An agile site is going to have agile in front of everything, right? They're gonna use the word a lot, and there's a lot to say about that. But I think when you're talking about it, we're really getting down to that product, the product mindset itself. And really thinking about how do you develop products? How do you develop products in a modern way, in an agile way, in a very, frankly, a lean way, right? In a very efficient but effective way, and in a way that matches with today's demands. The demands. I was talking to a client this morning. We were talking about our product journey loop and what we use with our product ownership course, or our product mindset course. And in talking to them about the concept of the reason all of these things are changing. And this is a gentleman who's very used to and been a long time in the waterfall project management space. New product design, it's not because there's better ways to develop things. It's because the environment is demanding that we do it in a different way. And they give us shorter windows to actually get benefit from the products we deliver. So we have to get value sooner because there's less time to reap the rewards from the things that we produce. So a lot of that thing is driving what a lot of these descriptions are. But Scrum does a really nice job, and Scrum.org, for example, does a really nice job in laying these things out and kind of talking about them in a way that can make sense.
Yeah, absolutely, and they really do. And it's interesting, the focus areas that are laid out for this competency, the managing products with agility. We're going to cover them, and they all have to do with sort of this sense of imbuing a product mindset in everyone that is involved with developing whatever the product is, the new product, or maintaining the existing product, whether it's for internal stakeholders or external customers. It's really understanding what the customer wants and what would delight them, and building the right things in an iterative and incremental fashion.
Right.
So we'll start with one of the focus areas, one that we think is probably something that comes first, right? When you start thinking about building products and managing products with agility, it's strategy. How do you think this figures in an agile product management space, Mike?
Well, it really comes down to, and you're going to find that we're doing this a little out of order than what you're going to see, like Kumar said, on websites and on the way people describe it, because it's really about understanding the why first. And when you think about strategy, and we're going to talk about vision next, those two things are really why questions. You're defining the why. And so many folks today are under so much pressure to deliver so fast that they think they have to work faster and skip steps in order to get things done. You get things out faster, but you don't get good things out at all when you work it that way. And we've learned a lot around this in the last 20 years, especially. And the idea around strategy is really getting to understand and be able to define that why from a strategic standpoint, right? You talk about this, and I'm kind of combining vision with it a little bit, but that strategy and vision, they need to go together, and you need to be able to paint that picture for everyone involved in this. You also need to paint that picture around why you're doing something, because you need to be able to go and test and validate your hypothesis around why you're doing something. Because frankly, when you're starting to do something, a lot of times we're doing things because we believe something is going to work, not because it's a fact that it is going to produce what we want it or we think it will produce. And the idea of defining strategy up front and then tying in your vision with it. And again, I'm throwing these two together, is giving you that why so that you can not only put down things around what we expect to see later on, and telling stakeholders, internal folks, customers, whoever, but the folks who are going to work on this and actually produce it. So they understand that they're going to build a better outcome of whatever you're trying to do, product or service, if you include the why at the beginning. And you can build everything off of that, because reverse engineering a why from a bunch of features that you've developed is a very hard thing to do and can be very frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned vision a lot. The vision and strategy do go sort of hand in hand, right? Strategy is a larger context, the collection of products that your company, your department, produces, right, for your customers, and the strategy defines sort of how these products fit within the larger context, and the vision, of course, is for a single product. And so, in that larger collection of products, what is the vision for this one product? What is the why behind it? How does it fit into the larger context? How do you derive value both from a company perspective for the impact that you're trying to gain from delivering that product, and what's the outcome that you're trying to deliver on your customer or stakeholders' behalf, right? All that becomes should become crystal clear when you envision this product and the niche in the market that is intended to fill. Anything to add to that, Mike?
I think the vision is actually kind of like a dual use word in this instance, because you're talking about the vision of the product, maybe the vision of the outcomes of the product, to help define your outcomes, showing the vision of what you're looking to achieve. But it's also, should it tie into the vision of your portfolio, tie into the vision of your company, and your mission, right? So there's that kind of dual use and dual threading of the vision element of it. And really both elements should play in. Everybody's more comfortable with defining the product vision itself, but not everybody goes and spends the time to tie it back to, is this tying into what we do and who we are in a way that's value add to that, as well as to the outcome that we're going for in this product or service.
Yeah, in our course, our product mindset course, we call it the product mindset, and it's really a great combination of product management and design thinking and product ownership. We love what Simon Sinek has done with defining your why, and we think that in Scrum, the business strategy and the vision is really about understanding what your why is. Why do you exist as a company, building products for your customers? And if you can define that why, strategy becomes a lot clearer. If you can define your why as a company, the products that you create, the vision for them becomes a lot easier. And so this is really all, in our view, tied to defining the why, right?
Yeah, and there's an efficiency play to make here too, as a lot of people think, we're taking too much time to do all of this, right? It will take you less time to produce a solid outcome because you understand those whys, because you can tie them back up. Those questions have to be answered, whether you do it in the beginning, like we talk about in the product mindset and going through the product journey loop. We spend almost a full day on why, and then moving into who on this, because it's that important. If you're not doing it at the front end and then building everything off of that, which makes it super easy to keep your scope narrow so you can deliver faster within those narrow windows. But the work will have to be done anyway. So you're either doing it now or you're doing it while you're building it. And then you're questioning everything you build, and then you're making extra to make sure you've covered it. And it just
a lot of rework,
really messy, a lot of rework, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it leads to frustration and added scope and missed deadlines and so on and so forth. So it's super critical to really define your why, be very crisp about it. And then I think the next most important thing is, once you understand your why, both from a company perspective, the strategy, and from a products perspective, the impact both from a business standpoint and a customer standpoint that you're trying to achieve, then the next question is, who are you building it for? Is this a product for your internal customers? Is this something for your that people are going to buy off your website, or an actual physical, tangible product that people are going to use, like a phone, like, whatever it might be, right? So who is the customer? And that's the next focus area in this Scrum competency, is to understand and to live in the shoes of your customers. Anything to
Absolutely.
add there, Mike?
Yeah, and you've got multiple customers, right? Like you've got your stakeholders for the product or the service that you're providing, and for the portfolio. You've got users or end customers, if you want to say. You've got internal customers that support the product or service after it's released. So there's a lot of people to serve when it comes to new product development. And it's interesting. There's no easier way to create velocity with quality than to limit the amount of features you need to build to achieve an outcome.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier when you have this idea of the vision and the mission and the strategy, but then you have your customers well defined, because you will start reducing scope within your products and your projects for products to meet the outcomes successfully much better than you ever thought you could, and with much less effort and work and code or whatever you have to do to build it, if it's manufacturing, whatever, to achieve that outcome. And you will be amazed at how much faster you move without working faster, without having to work harder or more hours to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from a Scrum perspective, they talk about stakeholders and customers a little differently. It's like stakeholders are who the team is going to be working with, right? So involving the stakeholders in open dialogue and collaboration with stakeholders to build a product. And stakeholders may be the customers, but they also may be representing the external customers that are going to eventually use the products. And in our view, they're really equally important. One is really to understand what the impact is to the business. What's the business impact? And this ties really directly to the next focus area that's part of this competency, which is value, right? What value are we trying to derive for the business? And what outcome are we trying to deliver for our customer?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the stakeholders, but the customer, the end user, right? And in our view, this is where this comes into play. When you understand who you're building it for, and you understand the strategy for the company, you can start to talk and have a conversation about both aspects of value, both value to the company and outcome for the customer. And of course, if you satisfy the customer, it's going to deliver value to the company, right? What do you say,
achieve
Mike?
your outcomes sooner, fewer iterations, less rework, fewer attempts in sprints if you're using Scrum, to get a very effective, high quality, positive outcome. Again, maybe not quite exactly what you thought, but it's going to be very measurable without very much effort. You're going to get your feedback loops are going to be very small. So we're very lean in our approach this way. And definitely, I think it's key, Kumar, that the order is followed in this way, because I think it makes a whole lot more sense that these elements on their own are all very key to ensuring good product development and delivery. But having it done in an order which they complement each other as much as possible reduces the amount of work that it takes to get an outcome out of all of these.
Exactly. And so, what have we covered so far? We covered the why in terms of strategy and vision. We've covered the who in terms of stakeholders and customers, right? Stakeholders you work with in order to deliver the value, and customers, the people that are going to consume your product and derive some benefit from it. And then we talk about value itself. Once you understand these elements, it's like, what is the outcome that we're looking for from on both sides of the equation? Mm-hmm. And then finally, when you have all of that, you can start to build forecasts and release plans in terms of what features are we going to deliver when, in order to derive that value and deliver that value for the customer and derive the impact for the business, right? So this to us, it comes kind of later on in the cycle, once you've done the preliminary work to understand the why, the who, and then the impact and the outcome. Then you can start designing the product, with, okay, it needs to have these features so that we serve our stakeholders and the customers well. What do you think?
Absolutely. When you're forecasting with as much backing and power of data that you now have by doing these other things in sequence, um, it's just a much easier task to do. Not only that, the cone of uncertainty has now extended itself, or shrunk. It's narrowed itself. So now you have more certainty. You've increased the certainty around what your product should look like,
Yeah.
why it should look like that. You've increased the certainty of getting value out of a smaller deliverable and how you're going to chop that deliverable up in maybe phases to be able to get good feedback fast. It just simplifies the whole thing. The effort of forecasting becomes more valuable,
Yeah.
and it produces more usable things when we get into the tactical side of actually building the product or service that you're going after.
Right.
But it really, really does shorten the stick if it's done in the right spot. And it definitely will produce a higher value outcome with a whole lot less time and money and effort put into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that in addition to all that you said, the forecasting and release planning is an iterative, hypothesis-driven process by which you're sort of creating a release plan that is based on your hypothesis. We think that by delivering these features in this time frame, we'll be able to learn more about our customer. And once you do deliver those features, you are gonna learn more about your customer. You're gonna deliver an outcome that's gonna allow you to learn something more about how they're using your product or your features or your service or whatever it is, which will fuel the next round of feature development, of outcome delivery, right? In a Scrum and Agile perspective, and this is what we think is most important to empirical process design and delivery, right? Scrum, it's based on empiricism. It's about the experimentation, hypothesis-driven mindset. And to us, that's the heart of the product mindset.
Yes, absolutely. And using these elements in that order, and using them to generate this continues to increase the confidence level in your decision making and your planning.
Right.
That is something that I can tell you I was a traditional project manager earlier on in my career. It always frustrated me in that job that I never really felt secure or solid or sound around these things. We've had projects that went very, very well. I never felt good about it during those projects, even the ones that came out really well, because there was still so many unknowns because of the order in which we did things and because we tried to increase certainty through the level of detail that we provide. So if we're really detailed, we'll be very certain that we're good. But detail does not equal certainty. And these types of things, limiting those scopes, stretching and thinning that cone of uncertainty, definitely drive a more certain outcome with your hypotheses in the beginning and allow you to be iterative in a value add way.
Absolutely. There's a lot more to this, of course. We're trying to cram a lot of really challenging, collaborative, innovative collaborations in a 20-minute video. In our course, we cover this in much greater detail in a specific order. But we love the way the Scrum.org has put these competencies together because it sort of validates our thinking and
they're hitting all the points
how it works. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Any parting thoughts before we end our session for today?
No, I think that it's an exciting time to be in product development and project management, which they pair up with product development.
Sure.
For both, because this idea of the systems thinking and everybody coming together. I would say that don't isolate groups to outside of these things. Now, you don't necessarily want to bring in a delivery team who has to build and deliver something at all the micro detail in the beginning, but you don't want to wait until you think it's ready to start building to bring them in. You want to have end-to-end visibility and participation to build alignment and consensus around what you're building. You'll get a lot of good feedback because, frankly, the delivery team is a customer, and they are stakeholders in this as well. Yeah, because
as early as possible. If you
Yep,
can start
absolutely.
iterating as early as possible, as long as they also understand strategy, the vision, who you're building it for, then as early as you can bring them in to start iterating around the product features and the hypotheses, the better off you're going to be.
You unleash all their knowledge
Yeah.
and all their skill to be able to build something amazing if you give them those types of insights in the beginning.
Absolutely.
So make sure that
All
they're
right. Well, we're right at 20 minutes, so right at the cutoff where it starts to become not really too short. It's more like an agile long.
medium.
So, yeah, an agile medium. So, thank you for watching. I hope you found this valuable. We'll leave links in the show notes to the scrum.org article on this competency, as well as our course that covers this competency and so much more, right? So please check those out and give us your feedback. And again, thanks for watching. Thanks, Mike, for joining me this week.
Thank you, Kumar.
All right. See you all later.
Bye-bye.